ABC News presidential debate starts right now.
This is an ABC News special, the most consequential moment of this campaign. Kamala Harris.
Together, we will chart a new way forward.
Donald Trump.
We will soon be a great nation again.
Face to face, historic. The ABC News presidential debate. Here now, David Muir and Lindsay Davis.
Who am I joined with here today?
So my name is Lieutenant Dan. I'm running for the Independent Party, and I would firstly like to thank and welcome my fellow debater, Mr. Peabody. A pleasure to meet you.
My name is Hector James Peabody, and I am a centrist Democrat running with the Democratic Party. And here today for another amazing debate. It's my candidate, Lieutenant Dan. Let's have a good debate.
So let's start off with your views on abortion laws, starting with Mr. Peabody.
So, being a centrist Democrat, I heavily believe in the reproductive rights of women, and I believe that they should have their own say. And quoting from a good friend of mine, Mr. O'Hare, let it die, let it die, let it shrivel up and die.
So my stance on abortion rights is I am rather liberal when it comes to the woman's reproductive rights. I believe that a woman should have a choice and say it in the matter, and me as a man and my other fellow males, we have no say in that matter. I believe it is up to the doctor and the woman to decide to get an abortion. I believe that there should be a certain term limit, but there should be excuses and certain limits for that in cases such as rape or incest. I also believe that that limit should be determined by professional doctors in that field. Yeah.
So, Lieutenant Dan, you say you're pro-abortion here and very liberal on the subject, but what about all the children you've killed yourself in the past?
Well, I have no what?
Please respond to his question.
These are just simply allegations and rumors, and never in my life and career have I killed children. Yes, I was deployed in Vietnam during the war. Yes, I did fight against Vietnamese children at times, but I never have killed any child, specifically during my time in Vietnam. I came back, I was a veteran. I lost my leg in the battle. Thankfully, Forrest Gump saved me. I simply don't have much to say. Mr. Peabody, how do you explain the mysteries in the time sequences that certain events have where you could have done a lot of illegal stuff such as
So time is just a construct, you know. The past doesn't have the same laws and regulations as the progressive future I'm trying to create for my son, Mr. Sherman. And
Please talk about your progressive future.
I forgot who Mr. Peabody is. I have to do that. What?
Please continue your talk about the progressive future for your son Sherman.
right, so I'm trying to build a world where Sherman can, he can live, he can get abortions whenever he wants, with a stable economy, an open border, and fracking for everyone. And Lieutenant Dan over here, he's killed the Vietnamese.
What do you mean by your son can get abortions? So do you believe in
Yes.
do you believe in transgender laws? What are your thoughts on transgender laws and LGBTQ?
So, formerly, my son Sherman now goes by it.
Please continue.
Formerly, my son Sherman now going by Sherwoman. Has decided to get a chance. And if he wants to get pregnant and have an abortion, I believe he should have that right. Sorry, as a woman, as a trans individual, and that is the future I'm fighting for.
Okay. Sorry for our
Border security. Border security.
Okay. Sorry for our little distraction. Lieutenant Dan, what's your thoughts on border security?
So I believe I fully support legal immigration. I believe everybody should have the right to come to a great nation. if they do this process legally. However, if immigrants through the Mexican border stop.
Please continue.
Become if Mexicans or any other comes over the border illegally, I believe border security should be armed and have the full legal right to engage these perpetrators as they are illegal and are infiltrating our country. It can be represented as in a house. If somebody illegally comes into your house, you're not going to welcome them, you're going to kick them out. And I challenge you, what do you believe on this, Mr. Peabody?
I have a similar stance. I also believe in strong border security, but also I do advocate for a humane border that allows Mexican immigrants or immigrants from wherever to have a safe passage into the United States legally, through a legal
So
process.
let me ask you this question. In one episode of your shows, you were in Egypt and you were crowned as king of the Egyptians. During this time, the Egyptians did use slave labor. They did use slave labor, and you supported it as they were carrying around on the throne. Do you want to use the illegal immigrants coming through the border as slave labor? And how will you prove that you're not going to do the same thing as you've done in the past?
So in the past, we're talking thousands and thousands of years ago, when the pyramids were originally built, I was in fact not crowned the king of Egypt. It was actually Tut, and the mistress of my woman was crowned the queen of Egypt. And while I may have been near the slavery that was around the pyramids at the time, I was not participating in it, but rather trying to benefit off of both woman and the other girl from
Like you kidnapped.
Kidnapped. Kidnapped is a strong word.
They're using it against you.
I have a question for you. Who built the pyramids?
Who built the pyramids? The slaves.
And did you ever visit the pyramids?
I visited the
Does this
pyramids.
mean
Many
benefited
people
off
can
of slavery?
many people can say they have visited the pyramids.
I can
That's
say
not
I've
me.
never visited the pyramids.
You also
So can I.
Continue.
What's your response to that?
You've heard my response. I believe that he has benefited in the past off slave labor, and now he wants to support illegal immigration. He wants to give them healthcare benefits, and education, and training to use them as educated slaves in the modern world.
Is this what you want for your son, so for your daughter, woman? A progressive future full of slavery? Please respond.
Lieutenant Dan is actually out here twisting my words. While I may have visited the pyramids and been around construction many times, I in no part supported the activity of the slavery. I was simply present at the time, and if I had been in a position of power, as Lieutenant Dan has described, I think I would have done something to free the slaves and provide access to abortions and an open border for these slaves who unfortunately gave their lives to build those pyramids. And while Lieutenant Dan is saying that I want to educate the Mexican immigrant workers,
Illegal, not illegal immigrants, not the legal.
illegal, I said nothing about illegal immigrants. My policy is on making the policy easier for legal immigration into this country, and a strong border, yet secure and humane for immigration to happen legally into this country.
I believe what you believe in humanity. What I believe is very inhumane.
Okay, moving on from this topic, let's talk about how your financial goals are about your campaign.
So I believe in traditional Republican economy. I believe.
I thought you said you were liberal.
No, I believe my abortion stance is liberal. I'm an
Oh,
independent
I see,
candidate.
I see.
I believe my economic plans are rather traditional Republican. I believe in free trade. I believe that limited tariffs. What other candidates in this presidential race, this President Trump, which I see in Gil as well, is that in his policies, what I see they resemble similar policies, is blanket tariffs on all imported goods. I believe that blanket tariffs on all imported goods is only going to drive up prices for consumers. I believe that targeted goods should be tariffed to bring back production and jobs to the American workforce. But blanket tariffs are simply unconstitutional and un-American. For these reasons, I believe that tariffs should be targeted by professional economists.
Right, so I personally believe in a mixed market approach. I promote both government intervention and support to the middle class, as well as a free market principles. And I'm not sure wherever you found this information that I side with former President Trump on these issues. Reddit?
Reddit.
Where on the Reddit did you find these fake news?
Trusted Reddit source.
Trusted Reddit source?
Please stop talking, Lieutenant Dan. Please continue.
So I believe that we should focus our economic policy around job creation, fair wages, and the encouragement of entrepreneurship, whether this be by supporting small businesses, tax breaks and grants, and investing in infrastructure. I would also help raise the federal minimum wage to ensure economic equality, to help people like my daughter, Sure Woman, to live a better life and be able to support themselves as inflation has occurred.
What else do you guys want to mention and talk about? Any free policies?
I believe we have a lot of similarities on this subject, and I believe we can maybe even work together in future times.
So what's the point of an election if you're going to work together?
Because we disagree so heavily on fracking.
Okay, let's talk about fracking then.
Ask us a question, Mr. Moderator.
What's your pros and cons about fracking?
So some pros I see about fracking is the large economic benefits it has for many states on the East Coast, such as Pennsylvania. But I believe we should impose strict regulations on fracking to prevent water and air contamination, while also offering tax incentives and funding for research in more renewable energy technologies to aim for a gradual shift to green energy, to drift away from fracking, which has been shown to heavily impact both the people and the environment of these fracking cities. While Mr. Lieutenant Dan over here firmly believes that fracking is essential for our economy.
I believe it is essential. Green energy, not only people refer to it as green energy, but did you know that green energy does also have significant environmental factors, such as hydrothermic, where the dams are built, ecosystems from fish are destroyed, and other sea creatures. On solar energy, the panels constructed in China, not in the United States, by foreign nations, who we then import, pay a lot of money to, and they destroy the economy with their waste. Same goes for wind energy. I believe that we should stick with fracking as essential to our economy and our workforce, while also pivoting to nuclear energy, and then ultimately be reliable on strictly nuclear energy.
Fracking is hurting the American people.
Explain this to me.
The good people of Pennsylvania are constantly impacted by the after effects of fracking, whether that be by the explosions caused due to fracking, the environmental impacts of fracking. So promoting it rather than looking for new greener solutions, which in the meantime may cause some environmental damage, will in the long term cause way less than fracking would. I believe that we should begin to stray away from fracking instead of promoting it. And on the topic of nuclear energy, while it may be considered kind of a renewable energy source, it also creates a lot of nuclear waste. And given that fracking and these nuclear plants would be in the same vicinity, we could have another instance such as Chernobyl, where the aftershocks of fracking could cause a plant to explode, furthering the damages caused by fracking to the good American people.
Now, Mr. Moderator, I ask you this question, and the people watching, I ask you, how many people has nuclear energy killed in the past 30 years? Chernobyl had 32 deaths, very tragic deaths. However, in the past 30 years, nuclear energy has not had any significant damages or causes to death at all. Yes, there was Fukushima, which was one death, and that was over 20 years ago. I believe that nuclear energy is very, very, very renewable, as there has been research found where they send nuclear waste into space and even use mushrooms to combat this waste. I also believe that fracking is essential into switching over to nuclear waste. I don't think we should be relying on fracking for the rest of our lives. I believe it is essential now and for this election, or we should use it to switch over to nuclear energy and stray away from any renewable energy such as wind, solar, and thermal. I believe that there has been more deaths, it's costly and to the environment and the people of Pennsylvania and all people of America, and therefore you should vote on my policy.
What?
Great to be here today. Great to be here today.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Go out there and vote for the people.
Vote Mr. Peabody.